Good afternoon. Today, I want to talk about something different than health and fitness. And I want to talk about something that probably is, a lot of people struggle with. So, a little bit of background about me, I think people know that I was a competitive gymnast growing up. But also, in addition to that, there's childhood trauma and just different things that happen, right? That kind of mold our minds and shape who we are. Well, between the stressful situations um, that I was in a lot of times as a child, as well as being a competitive gymnast, starting at age 4, there's a lot of things that go into that kind of really inhibit the development of, I would say, feelings, emotions, and understanding what they are for you and how to have a healthy relationship with yourself, honestly, I would say. Um, so, when you're a gymnast, on top of, like the trauma, when you're a gymnast, you're taught to be perfect. So everything has to be perfect. You're taught to not show emotion, to suck up any fear, any pain. So you're kind of taught not to feel. And then if you add trauma on top of that, where you're already trying to suppress and just not deal with it, because as a child, you really don't know how to deal with it. So typically you kind of push it away. Once I became an adult, I used to think I had my head on so straight, and I used to think that I had everything so together, and I thought I was so strong. And not saying that I wasn't strong. I think I didn't know what I didn't know. And it wasn't until I grew up and became older, especially trying to navigate the intricacies of marriage, being a mother, having a career, and just kind of really trying to balance, you know, that balance of having to manage so many different things in your life. I started to really notice there were some major cracks in my emotional well being, my mental well being, my mental health. And then again, I also struggle with anxiety and OCD. So that's another layer of it, but that's kind of completely different. So I think what happened is I was so used to not ever feeling that when I eventually got to a place where I started to open up and I started to allow myself to feel and have feelings, I felt so vulnerable. And I honestly did not know how to deal with them at all. And when I did deal with them, it typically was not a very good or healthy way of dealing with it. Um, so, and then I was struggling with, I want to feel because having feelings feels good and being vulnerable feels good, but I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to go back to the way I was before. Um, so for the first time, I think when I was 37, I believe 36, 37, I thought I'm going to reach out to a therapist. And I just got on that BetterHelp and pick someone, kind of ask you a bunch of questions of who you're looking for, and they match you with a therapist. And she had mentioned, she's like, "Have you ever done ego work?" And I thought, well, first of all, it was the first time I had ever heard it. Secondly, it kind of was a blow to my ego because I thought, ooh, ego work. Is there something wrong with my ego? Which I thought was kind of funny. And long story short, she recommended a couple of books. And I want to get to all of them because honestly, I feel like there's three of them that I really feel like changed my life. I'm also a type A and a perfectionist. So when someone gives me work, I do the work. So that's another part of it. You can't just like read a book but not put it into practice. I read something, I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. I never thought about this. And then I kind of dive head in or head first, sometimes to a detriment. Sometimes I do it too much. But this book in particular, especially if you are a perfectionist or if you're really hard on yourself, this to me, I love this book. I've read it twice now, but I'm going to share my screen. And it's Make Peace with Your Mind by Mark Coleman. First of all, it's narrated in a British accent, which I don't know about you, but that seems very calming to me. And it just really seems like it's easier to take it in. Oh, this is an audiobook, by the way. So I love to listen to audiobooks when I drive because I drive a lot. So I think it makes the most out of my time. But this is all about your inner critic and how you talk to yourself on a daily basis. And before I read this, I read a book called Hardwiring Happiness, which is a great book too. I'll talk about that another day. Um, but this is really, it points out all the different critics that there are and they give them names, right? And you read the book and you kind of try to figure out who who is your inner critic. It could be one, two, three, you could have multiple. It's just, and they talk about it like it's a board, it's a like board of directors, or you're at a board meeting and there's different people there, and it's like they're all sitting at the table and they're all chiming in, right? And those are your different inner critics. And if you can address the ones that are the strongest in your mind that really affect you, um, and you can start recognizing and pointing out when they surface, when they come up, how often are they talking to you? You can name them. You can kind of imagine them as a certain character. And once you can, name your inner critic, you can identify it, you can start understanding how to work around it. And your inner critic can be very, very hard on you. And I really feel like we're the most harsh and the meanest to ourselves. But is it really us, or is it our inner critic? Or sometimes people call it ego. And it's essentially there and developed when you're young to protect you. The problem is the way that your inner critic or your ego goes about protecting you is very harsh, and a lot of times can do more damage than good. And so this really allows you to understand, okay, I see that you're coming into my life for this reason. I understand you're trying to protect me because of this. However, I'm going to acknowledge what you're trying to do, say thank you, but now you need to go away because you're of no value to me. And I know that maybe seems simple. I'm paraphrasing and summarizing the book because it goes into detail of just the different types of inner critics and egos that there can be, and all these different scenarios of how to identify it and deal with it and, move on from it. But this book just really, I don't know if it would do the same for you, but this was such an eye opener on how to have so much more compassion for your own self and have a better relationship with yourself, that I really think everybody should read this. And I'm the kind of person that if I love to share things. So if I come across something, I mean, it can be anything. It could be makeup, a workout routine, a recipe, this book, anything that really benefits me where I thought, oh my God, that's amazing. I like to share it with people. You know, I, it, I'm just like that. I'm not a greedy person. I'm not a stingy person. I like anything that I think is going to benefit someone, or if it's something I love, I really do. I love it to share it with others. So if you want to check out this book, and if it helps you and you love it and kind of gives you a little bit more peace during the day, and you can maybe you can breathe a little bit easier, then it's worth it. Every silly video I do. So once again, that's Make Peace with Your Mind by Mark Coleman. And I hope you enjoy it.